Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Shelly's Millions. Today, we're going to talk about any topics that you guys want to that are budget or finance related. I'm not your financial advisor. I'm not a financial advisor. I just really enjoy talking about budgeting and money. If anybody wants to ask me any questions about um like cost of living in other places and how much it would cost to rent an apartment in another town. I know a lot of my viewers are from California. So if you're watching from California and you've been thinking about moving, I'm happy to look up information on other cities and states to see if moving out of state might be the right move for you. But yeah, happy Father's Day. And let me know what you guys want to talk about today because I don't have a plan today. We mostly talk about budget and finance, but I do work at a movie theater. And I know Debbie always watches and asks me what the number one movie is this week. And right now, at where I'm at, the movie that we're playing is called Asteroid City, and it's just amazing. So that's okay. So, JR wants to know what is the best in contacting a rental assistance program. And Michael says, hello, hello, and happy Father's Day to everybody. Okay, let's, it's been a while since I've talked about rental assistance. The programs that were available during the pandemic aren't necessarily available anymore. I know during the pandemic, a resource that a lot of people mentioned was going to like a Catholic church. A lot of those have rental assistance. So, and then of course, there's bigger programs like Section 8. Section 8 housing is really hard to get on, and there's often a really long wait list. Yeah, so Debbie, Asteroid City, the Wes Anderson movie, if you get a chance, I would recommend going to see it at Landmark Theaters in West Hollywood if anybody's close. They have an entire experience. It's like a pop-up event where they've got items from the set and things like that, and it's really cool. Okay. And then Flash and Elemental were the other two movies. I've been busy working, so I haven't had a chance to see either of those. I'm really excited about Elemental though. Okay, Jer, I'm gonna look at your question. Aw, thanks, Andrew. Hello. Okay, and then W says your cousin got a car that was totally an unwise choice, a BMW 3 Series with a car payment of 900 a month. He doesn't even have an executive job. Why do people need to flex with cars? It's lame. Haha. While I look up information on rental assistance, I'll talk about that for a little while. You know, it's interesting because growing up, right, my mom always told me, like, don't worry what you look like. People will like you for who you are. You don't need to be flashy. You don't need to try and impress people, all of those types of things. And I do think that there is some truth to that. But there is a flip side of that coin where you only get one chance to make a first impression. And so you never know who you're going to run into or who you're going to meet during your day. And I don't think you should have a flashy car. But there was a time in my life where when I was still driving my Mitsubishi Mirage that had 300,000 miles on it, and probably wasn't quite that many at that time, but I thought that to get promoted, that people needed to see me in a position of power and see me in a nicer car so that they could take me more seriously. And while I don't think I needed a fancy car, I did look at some fancy cars. I didn't buy them, but there is an element where people do make snap judgments on you based on how you look and what you drive. Um, but yeah, you all on the same side, you shouldn't try and like impress other people. So it gets tricky, right? And this is where like sometimes people try and give you really good advice, and there's always two different kind of ways to look at it. Okay. Debbie says the giant yard cat. He's probably outside sleeping. Okay. So JR says what type of line of communication would produce the best result for rental assistance, a call, an email, or in person? If someone will offer you an in person consultation, I would do that just because I feel like In person, you're going to have the most time and be able to explain your situation the best. Secondarily, I would recommend email. I do like to have everything in writing. If someone tells you it's going to be 6 months before you will get an apartment that's low cost, I do like to have that in writing. And then the third method would be calling. Okay. And I do know that the assembly members, the same ones that helped us get our unemployment claims rolling, they can also direct you to programs in your area that would offer rental assistance. But I'll look up some more specific things in just one second. The big cheese. Will gas prices go to $10 a gallon because Saudi Arabia is cutting productions severely? I don't know. I hope not. I really, really, really hope not. There is this big push to go to electric cars, but, like, we're definitely not there yet. Um, I don't wanna see prices go to $10, but I do think just over time with inflation, I think certainly in my lifetime, hopefully not, like, sooner, but probably towards the end of my life, I'll probably see gas prices hit $10. That wouldn't surprise me, but if that'll happen soon or not, I certainly hope not. And I think that the government would step in if it tried to go that high too quickly. JR says, "What about the constant circle back and the progress while making an attempt to do so?" That I would try and keep it all in email if you can. And the reason why, and you might not be able to, they might tell you you have to call to find out about rental assistance. But the thing is, if you talk to, let's say you talk to Shelley's Millions, and I tell you one thing, and you begin that process with me, but then you call back and you get Jenny Silver. Now, Jenny Silver gives great advice, but maybe she tells you something a little bit different. She sends you to a different program. Now you've been told two conflicting things, and it's all by phone, and there's not like a way to track it. I always like to get things in writing if I can. That way you can go back and you can show them that person's email and you can say, well, on such and such a date, this person gave me advice to do this. And so that's the advice I followed. Because sometimes you'll get somebody and they'll be like, well, they wouldn't tell you to do that, or that program wouldn't be available to you. And then you can literally copy and paste information from their email and be like, well, here's where they told me to do that. So always try and get things in writing if you can. If you can't, an in person interview can be better to like relay your story most effectively. Sometimes in email, they're don't not understanding and you're not able to correct them right away. Whereas if you're in person and you're explaining something and they're not understanding, you can go and try and explain it a different way and try and get them to understand the situation. Or if you don't understand something, you can ask follow-up questions with them. And I think in person is the other way that I would do that. And then lastly, by phone, although you might have to do it all by phone. Okay, let me see here. Let me share my screen. We might look at some of my YouTube analytics just because I haven't done that in a while. Okay. Share the window. The heck? Hmm. All right. So right now it's up on my YouTube, but I'm just gonna Google rental assistance. I'm gonna do Los Angeles because that's the county I'm in and see what kind of programs. Siegel says, I watched my old EDD videos from 2020 because it's vintage. It reminds me of the 600 bucks a week era. That's funny. Yeah, that was a lot of money. And it's interesting because there's a lot of news articles now that say that we all had really high savings rates back in 2020 and now those are dipping. And I know for me, like I cut my spending and I was saving because we didn't know how long unemployment was going to keep getting extended for. And I wanted to make sure that I had enough money to pay my bills if we still weren't back to work. That was such a crazy time. Okay. So for LA County, if I type in rental assistance Los Angeles, the first thing I have are the LAHD, City of Los Angeles Housing Department. Let's go ahead and click this one. Oh, okay, so it looks like okay. I'm going to close that pop-up. Okay. The City of Los Angeles COVID-19 eviction protections for non-payment of rent have expired, and beginning April 1st, 2023, renters must pay their full current monthly rent to avoid eviction for non-payment of rent. Renters still have time to pay back COVID-19 rental debt accumulated from March 2020 through March of 2024. Tenants who receive an eviction complaint called an unlawful detainer for unpaid rent must file an answer with the court within 5 days or risk losing by default without ever getting a trial. And for that, you're going to contact stayhousedla.org or call 888-694-0040. Annual rent increases are currently prohibited for rental units subject to the City of Los Angeles Rent Stabilization Ordinance, the RSO, through January 31st of 2024. To find out if your unit qualifies, click here. It looks like that's zemus.lacity.org. You're going to enter your address, click the housing tab, and RSO status will be indicated for the property. And then view updated renter protections. So let's go ahead and go down here for the most viewed. We're going to go to the affordable rental housing. Search for housing, housing programs, housing development. And then there's all these different programs with all the different links. So section 8, we're going to click this link. And I believe if you sign up for section 8, you get like a caseworker. Okay, apply for public housing. I will scroll up. Okay, so this is the application portal. This is not an application for the Section 8 housing, for the Section 8 program. The public housing waitlist for a one bedroom is currently closed. We're not accepting new applications for this bedroom size. New applicants, you need to be 18 years or older and submit an online application. Current applicants can update your contact information, income, and preference and check the status of your application. Residents of public housing program, they can use this link to make payments. So, and I think hold on, please note priority among each preference shall be given to families of veterans or servicemen of the U.S. Armed Forces, regardless of application date. Preference definition. So it looks like preferences would be given to people who are employed more than 20 hours, the disabled or elderly, the sole person. So I don't know a lot about this program, quite honestly. But my advice would be when in doubt, if you're eligible or not, go ahead and apply. Is there a specific program that you are interested in? All right, W says, imagine if EDD was still a thing today. It would be on its 6th extension with $300 a week. That would be crazy. Okay, Alex says, some landlords won't be nice about people who struggle to pay rent. Some will say, just deal with it and work 80 hours a week. That's true. Most of the time when you rent anything from someone, they don't necessarily care about how they get their payment. They just want to be paid. But with that said, it's always worth talking to your landlord and trying to work something out and letting them know your situation and seeing if they're able to work with you. During the pandemic, like, I heard stories of landlords that lowered the rent by 50 to $100 because it made more financial sense for them to do that and keep someone in the unit versus have somebody not pay at all and not stay in the unit. I heard stories of people who lowered someone's rent by like $100 for like approximately 2 years, but then they went ahead and like they were gonna charge them $300 more on year 3. So they cut the rent to make it lower for a couple of years during the pandemic, but then told the tenant, "Hey, when you come back, we're gonna raise it by a crazy amount." And I actually don't know. In some of those rent controlled properties, I'm not sure if that would be even legal. Okay. Let me go back to this tab and let's go back to the apply for public housing. Nope, that's the same thing. I just am not as familiar with these programs. Let's Google since I don't know. What I'm going to Google is what is the difference oops, between public housing in section 8, and it's the first thing that comes up. And it says public housing under the public housing program, the HACLA is the owner landlord of the property. Section 8 is a voucher program that lets you find your own unit to rent anywhere in the city of Los Angeles. And it is true that there's a lot of places that don't accept those vouchers, so that can be tricky to find as well. Also, guys, oh my goodness. Can we just have a moment and look at West Hollywood minimum wage? You guys are all gonna flip when I show you this. Effective July 1st of 2023, so in like half a month, less than half a month, the minimum wage in West Hollywood only is gonna go to $19.08, making it the highest rate in the state and even in the nation. Like, here's the thing. I am torn because I understand that there is a need for people to be paid a living wage, a wage where you can afford apartments and housing and things like that. But I also see it from the business side, right? At what point, and this I think is like a bigger problem, right? At what point is the company spending so much money on their staffing that they have to close their doors, that they just say, "You know what? This isn't affordable anymore, and I'm not able to stay in business as long as I pay my staff this much." $19.08 is not very much money in terms of being able to afford an apartment here in Los Angeles, right? And that's why I was like, if you guys wanna give me any cities or anything like that. Um, Anthony, I will get to that in a second. Um, Jenny Silver and I think we're more like I'm like, "I'll get to it in a second," and then I get to it now. Um, she and I are more like acquaintances, right? I have been extremely busy. I've been having trouble keeping up with my friends that live locally. She lives in Northern California, I live in Southern California. She and I went through together kind of a unique experience with our YouTube journeys, with like, it was very similar. Her channel grew more than mine. She is married, though, and she's got 2 kids. So, she's a complete sweetheart, and we're gonna remain friends, but it's more like acquaintances. She's because we live too far away. And I think both of us are so business minded that when we think about like calling each other, we're like, oh, should we do a live together or something like that? And we probably should do a live together. And I actually have some business questions that I would love to ask her. She's had a small business for a really long time, and my YouTube channel is a small business, but this year it's not going to make any money. So, and last year it didn't make any money either. So, I need to decide at what point I switch and call this a hobby and not a business anymore. I still want to try and come live every Sunday, but yeah, I don't know. So good friends, but more towards the acquaintance side. And yeah, I think we're always going to kind of keep in touch and certainly like, be supportive of each other and kind of like follow each other's journeys, but not as closely as we were during the pandemic. And if we are, that means that something has gone terribly wrong again. You know what I mean? Okay, Debbie says it seems like wage increments are offset by price increases, never out of corporate money. Yeah. And I have to say that if I, as a, I guess technically I'm a business owner, but I only employ myself. But even me, as the channel's need dies down, sometimes it's harder to like be motivated to come on Sunday mornings, like if I don't have a specific plan to talk about or something like that. And for a business, if they're using, oh, thank you, Debbie. All right, thank you, thank you. I am trying, but man, okay, I just need to come back and make more videos. And that's a whole nother thing. I thought about coming on and just editing one today while you guys are watching. And thank you for saying that, Debbie. It's gonna make the little green guy smile here. Um, I enjoy coming on and doing this on Sunday mornings. I might have to switch it from the weekends. That's what's getting me is there's just not a great day to do this. My hours are more inflexible. Anyway, if I'm a business owner and I make $10,000 a year from my business or my side hustle or whatever it is, right? And then let's say I print t-shirts. And let's say that the first year, even though I make $10,000, that the cost to make the t-shirts are like $5,000, right? And let's say that next year, because cost of goods goes up, let's say those same t-shirts are going to cost me $8,000. Well, I don't want to go from making $5,000 in profit to only making $2,000 in profit. So I'm going to try and find a way to still make $5,000 in profit versus just settling for $2,000 in profit. And I have to imagine that it's the same for corporations. Not only do corporations not want to like they don't want less money every year, but most corporations, as far as I understand, they want to become more profitable. They want to make more money. They don't even want to stay at like the same amount of money. Companies want more money. And a lot of times, I think a lot of it goes back to lending and the way our economy kind of works. I think businesses take out loans with plans for growing their business a certain amount. And so if they fall short one year, then they have to try and figure out how to make it up another year. And maybe when you're making your business plan, right? And I have a video on how to make a business plan, and it's definitely going to tell you to factor in your expenses. But if we had many, many years where minimum wage was kind of the same. And it just gets really crazy. Um, it's like I just don't know, like, they're gonna wanna make the same amount of money, and it seems easy to not factor in things like minimum wage increases, because that gets voted on sometimes, like, maybe outside of when you first made your business plan. Cost of goods really have gone up. And then there's things that I really wonder. I wonder things like with restaurants, and this year with, like, the eggs being so expensive for a while, right? I wonder, like, because it normally takes especially corporations, right, where it's bigger. Like, maybe a manager places an order for water, and maybe the manager only turns in the bills to their corporate office once a week, and the price of water has tripled, let's say. Then the people at the corporate office, they code it. Like, how long does it take? There's like trailing financial indicators, right? How long would it take companies to realize, like, hey, where is this increase in our cost of goods coming from? Oh, it's coming from bottled water. How long is it gonna, like, it doesn't happen instantly, is what I'm trying to say. And so, how quickly can a business react when something like price of eggs triples, right? Because price of eggs really did triple. I know I was saying bottled water, but like price of eggs tripled. Did restaurants raise their prices the very next day? I don't think they did. I think it takes a while for them to be like, "Oh my goodness, like why am I not making as much profit as I used to?" And yeah, a lot of times it does get passed on to the consumer because how else, there's 2 ways to really make profit the way I see it, right? This is not a study. You either lower your expenses or you raise your prices. If you wanna make the same amount of profit and everything is going up, you either have to find a way to lower expenses or you have to raise your profit. But to raise your profit, you need to sell things for more money. To lower your expenses, that's really hard when a lot of it is potentially out of the business owner's control. If I'm a restaurant and I want to sell scrambled eggs and eggs just increased by like triple, you can't triple the price on scrambled eggs. So you're probably going to do things like potentially open an hour later so that you're not paying $19.08 in minimum wage for an hour, or you're going to close earlier, or maybe you shut the back part of your dining room and you don't turn on the lights. Like, but yeah, businesses want to make the same amount of money and then they're going to pass it on to us. Okay. So Debbie, not leaving YouTube, at least not yet. Anthony says YouTubers that talked about EDD really grew back then. Andrew talked about it, but he did not stay dedicated to it, so he didn't grow as much. And wish he kind of did that. Yeah, because he had a lot of funny videos. And Andrew's awesome because he can kind of do any topic and it'll be interesting. Okay. Debbie says Jenny is alive and well, just topics are minimal. You stay in touch with both of us so as to pay homage to the good old EDD days. Ah, not to be forgotten. Yep. Um, Andrew says that he promises in the next pandemic he'll surely talk EDD even more so he can get back to 10K subs. Yep. And Debbie says summer is here. The grill's on the patio. Eating out has gotten too costly. Yeah, but grilling is nice. And then Anthony says, no need. He watches videos because he's a cool dude. He'll still grow slowly, even with food reviews and other videos. Andrew, I don't think I've seen your food reviews. I saw your cat video though. So, and Debbie, if you haven't seen that, Andrew's got the cutest little Bengal cat. All right, guys, I might have to head out early. I will try to look up some information about, let's know, I still might head out early, but I really want to dig a little bit more about rental assistance programs, and I think there was a list that I didn't click. So let's click that just really quickly in case it helps. So, rent relief programs, what you need to know to stay housed, um, help for seniors on the verge of homelessness. Oh, and I will say this, and this is kind of a tip from my mom and from just things that we kind of learned during the pandemic. Whenever you call these programs, they're going to give preference to people who are either already homeless or about to experience homelessness. So, let's see if we can do Andrew's kitty. Um, but you might want to say, yes, I am at risk of experiencing homelessness because if I don't get into one of these programs, I will have to be homeless. So that is kind of, you do want to don't say, oh, I'm okay, I can make it a couple, more months, because then people aren't, they're not going to put you on the top of the list. Andrew, hold on. Bibayy. Bingo. Let's try that. Oh, look at her. Oh, which one do I want to watch? We'll watch the short because, yeah. I mute that. Can you guys hear me? So I did mute the music. Look at her. Oh, she's so cute. So this is on Andrew's channel. Oh, so pretty. She's so pretty. She looks crazy right there.
Hey there, guys. Welcome back to my channel.
Can you guys
Today I'm going
hear
to talk about
me
a
while
specific breed
that's
of
going?
cat known as
Oh, Andrew, it looks like it's giving me.
Bengal
Are those
cat.
your statistics?
This is Samari. She's
Anyway,
a
I feel
beautiful
like
little
now I have
Bengal,
to let this play.
and I must say she likes being under this blanket
Yeah,
for whatever
right?
reason.
Kitty's
Isn't
so
that true,
cute.
little girl?
She's so pretty.
Anyway, she's
All
kind of
right.
shy.
You guys have watched me fawn over the
But,
cat.
Bengals
So
are
the
quite a
reason
handful.
why I have to
Quite
go
lovely
today is
little
because I
cats
can
to
hear
have.
my
They
friend
kind of do
putting
have
up
a
the
wild
pool.
side about them.
We put up our
Samari.
pool last week and it had a leak and we had to return it.
But
and
you know what?
Sucks.
I kind of like that
So
about
now
these
we're
cats,
putting up the
really.
same one from last year, which is
Deep
probably
inside,
for the best.
there's a inner
All right, you
wild
guys,
cat in
I
this,
think I
but
am going to head
I
out
must
today.
say,
Andrew,
Bengals
thank
are
you for
quite
sharing
lovely.
your beautiful kitty with
Look
us.
at that! Look
her
at that
little
coat right
spots.
there.
That's real
Wow.
traditional for the Bengal.
Wow.
I guess this is sort of turning into a
But
reaction video
if you're
about
a
a Bengal
cat
cat.
lover, I would recommend this
Normally
breed.
they're really
But
loud.
just know that they're a little bit
She's
more of a
quiet.
handful
My
than a
friend
regular
just found a
cat.
video of my cat where she was making like crazy noises. I'll see if I can find that and
She
like
might be
play it for you
hungry
guys.
now.
Anyway,
Go
I am
fill up
gonna
her
head out.
bowl.
I've got a ton of stuff I
And
gotta
I
get
just
done
wanted to
today.
talk about Bengals.
And I've been working
Beautiful
a ton.
cats.
All right.
A little bit on the wild
Happy
side.
Father's Day to everyone.
And like all cats, they could have a little bit of an attitude. But
thanks so much for
they're
watching
not like
Shelly's
dogs.
Millions. Have a great
But
Sunday,
definitely a
guys.
cool
I
cat
am heading
indeed.
out.
This is Samari here. Let me know if you have a Bengal. I want to know if your